It's a fantastic story. In 2001, I went to see an amazing exhibition by an artist called Janet Cardiff, Canadian artist, at PS1 in New York. I had never seen anything like this in my life before. I was transformed. It sort of had this, and it was a lot of sound works, which I had never seen before, and I'm fascinated by sound. I became even more fascinated by sound as time grew. But the galleries were only selling to museums and institutions, because this was really a celebrated artist. She's very well known, and they didn't know about me as a collector. So they said to me, unfortunately, none of these works are for sale, and that we only sell to institutions. So I insisted. I went to see her gallery in Berlin. I met Janet. We got on extremely well, which was very precious. And I basically realized I needed to create an institution. So I went back to Vienna, saw the lawyers, created the bylaws for Thyssen-Bornemisza Art Contemporary, and found an exhibition space where I could show some of Janet Cardiff's works. I went back to Berlin. I said, listen, I have an institution, I have an exhibition space, and I found the curator. So let's do it. And they was like, yes, okay, then you can have your first artwork. And so from the very, very beginning, I had curatorial help, collection management help, and I always took the artworks that we bought or commissioned very, very seriously. And we created an institution from day one. So it wasn't like many other collections start as a private enterprise, as a folly, as something that you're driven by various passions. I'm certainly driven by passion, but I have instituted a regime or an organization around me that really has been the substance of TBA 21 since day one. And it's thanks to Janet Cardiff and my passion for the work that I will show in 2021 called To Touch. And it's an amazing work. After starting to collect in again, a relatively traditional way, buying and acquiring works, I wanted to have something that was different and unique. And an invitation to participate in a commission with Art Angel in London and the Carnegie Foundation in the States, to support the making of a piece by a Turkish artist called Kutluk Ataman, who I had heard of and who was legendary in our circles in sort of very adventurous contemporary art. And he wanted to propose a piece about a Kurdish minority in the suburbs of Istanbul. And it was a very political piece, and it was called Kuba. And we supported this project with, you know, what I felt at the time was a lot of money. And we became co-commissioners of this project with these other fantastic institutions. And the work took 2 years to produce. And in that process, I learned and understood the importance of commissioning. And it's actually something that all of the great philanthropists have done over the years, and the museums always was a practice by the museums. But unfortunately, with all the budget cuts, museums have actually not been able to spend that kind of money on new works. And it was so exciting to be invested in that creative process, and also the risk-taking, that you really don't know what you're going to get at the end and what the final product is. But you're part of the process, and that became, for me, far more interesting, far more important, and a much deeper way of learning about the art that I was collecting through this commissioning process. And together with Daniela Zeman, the chief curator, we have, over these years, commissioned over 100 works. Some sound works, some 30 sound works, but, you know, a number of commissions. And our latest one is with Cecilia Bongolea in Jamaica. So we will show a little bit of that process at our open day in Madrid. But much of this, that is really what I think our legacy is the fact that we have pioneered this. We're not the only ones to do it, so pioneered might be the wrong word, and also, of course, the Medicis did it sort of 500 years ago. So, but what we did is we really gained a reputation for being an organization that took risks, that invested in projects that artists really believed were important and essential to produce, that did not fit into the commercial art market. And that's really where our lives we made a very big difference between what was philanthropy, I think, and what is investing in art. And there's really two very different ways of collecting, and we are very clearly in the philanthropic one. Well, it's to honor the contract that we have in agreement with the Thyssen-Bornemisza National Museum of Madrid to organize a series of exhibitions twice a year, plus an intense programming and educate and working with the education department in order to open up the Thyssen Museum to contemporary art, which everybody thought was impossible. And the question really is, should one do that? You know, is this essential? Is this important? And this is a question that many classic, chronologically based museums have asked themselves, from the Louvre and the Hermitage to the National Portrait Gallery, the Prado, LACMA in LA, the Metropolitan in New York. All of these great museums have embraced contemporary art programming, and they've all done it for different reasons, and there are some fantastic success stories, and we want to know whether or not this is something that is essential to the future of the museum or not. And I think as a member of the family who's also a collector, so I'm the fourth generation collector, and I'm obviously very influenced by my father, who talked a lot about world peace and breaking down prejudices and barriers in his time through his collecting and through his exhibition making in places like the Soviet Union at the time. I also learned from him that art is a very, very powerful tool in order to change people's perceptions of society. It is not just a reflection of the world we live in. It needs to be much more. And the exhibition program that we're proposing at the Thyssen is really, really a concerted effort to bring some of the very best artists doing some very exceptional projects to the museum and incorporating it into the practice of the museum. And that is a real challenge for me, and I look at this not just as an exhibition series, but more as an engagement that is genuine and very committed from my side. I've been on the board for 20 years, and I really do believe that other generations of the family could continue to contribute to the collection. And I hope that it doesn't stop at this number 4. Maybe my children or my nieces or nephews might have the same impulse. And there is no other national museum in the world that has a family that is that engaged to support it, to engage with it, and to continue its collection. It's unique, and I really want the Thyssen-Bornemisza Museum to be totally unique. So we have an opening in a couple of weeks, so with Dominique Gonzalez-Foerster, who's created a work called Opera, which is an impersonation of Maria Callas, and it was in a series of very interesting, passionate women who led extraordinary lives, like Sarah Bernhardt and Marilyn Monroe as well. And I was really interested in Dominique's interpretation and study of what is real true passion, and in the end spectacular and legendary death of these 3 women. And I think the character that she portrays in this is extremely powerful, and for all the people that love opera, they will just love this piece. And I'm really interested also in how art can also interest people from another world, you know, and the opera lovers of Madrid are very welcome to this exhibition. And then Tomás Saraceno I've known for many, many years, and he's a dear friend, And I'm passionate about his work, and he did this spectacular exhibition at the Palais de Tokyo in Paris last year. That was the most visited exhibition that museum has ever had. And it was such a huge success, and I managed to acquire some of the works from that exhibition. So it's a mini version of what was extraordinary, spectacular at the Musée de Palais de Tokyo. But it really shows his interest and passion about spiders, and he will be doing a fantastic workshop on the 30th and 31st of October, which is Halloween, which is not something we celebrate here in Europe, but you know, the idea that it's all about spiders and spider webs and tarot reading. And he's an extraordinary person who organizes some of the best symposiums I've ever attended. So that's going to be very exciting. And we have a number of very important, fantastic artists who I will keep my lips sealed for now, that are coming in to see us at the museum because they're engaged in next year's program and the year after program. And I've asked them to come in and talk to us about art education and interpreting also the classical museum. So this is going to be an ongoing busy place. And this is now our new empty office, and we need to bring lots of life to it, and I'm sure we will, because I have a very dynamic team. We're very passionate about what we do, and we open our doors with a very strong feeling of generosity. It's very important, collaboration. These are our values. And inclusivity. We want to be very inclusive inside Madrid. We are not coming here with a parachute. So please let us in, and also I hope that people come through our doors and come and ask us questions and how we can collaborate and what we have to offer, because we want to come here in the spirit of generosity.